Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the ultimate Cleveland sports show, along with G. Bush and Tyvis Powell. I'm Adam the Bull. We got a ton to get to today. We've got Steve, Mike, and Anthony behind the glass. Earl up in his perch. We are going to talk about the Cavaliers starting a West Coast road trip. We're going to be joined by the great John Fanta, Cleveland's own. Talk some Cavs with him, but also, of course, the NCAA Tournament. Everybody's losing their mind over North Carolina. The idiot governor of West Virginia wants to sue. Every year there's some idiot politician that wants to sue to get their name in the papers.
Sue for what?
That West Virginia didn't get into.
We got something to get to. We'll talk about that with John.
All right. And I nearly had a dream come true yesterday. I almost got to put both Tyvis and Dustin in my, what do you call it? What's the thing
called?
Little
square grid thing?
Yeah. We had 3 of the 4 teams, but we were missing the 49ers on there, unfortunately. And we're going to get into all of it. Also, Ross Tucker, the Ross Tucker NFL podcast, I saw him breaking down running backs today with, I was going to say Mike Florio, Greg Cosell, that's it. So a lot to get to. Obviously, we're going to begin in a second with the Juan Thornhill situation. But first, real quick, something really important I'd like to promote here for charity. I posted this tweet yesterday. Please help support a great charity run by a friend of mine. If you can, please stop by Dewey's Pizza in Lakewood. It's on the west end of Lakewood, almost to the border of Rocky River. It's not far from around the corner. I'm sure a lot of you people know.
And it's today. It says tomorrow in the tweet.
Yes, it was yesterday's tweet. So it's today between 4 and 9. If you are able to go, and I will so appreciate it, please make sure you say you're here for the Superhero Project, your server or whoever's taking your order. The Superhero Project is a great, amazing charity that was started by my friend Lisa Collins. She was the first person I ever met. I met her in Cleveland. I met her even before I came to Cleveland. She is a great person. This charity, the Superhero Project, it puts together kids who are very sick, either terminal diseases or very serious diseases, with artists. Okay. And the artist and the kids will get together, and the artist will draw the kid as a superhero based on the conversation they have. And these kids get a lot out of it. It's such a cool thing. So please, if you can today between 4 and 9 p.m. to the Dewey's Pizza in Lakewood. I'm going to be there at some point. Bernie Kosar said he might stop by. Please do what you can. Even if it's $5, $10, do what you can, please. It's for a great cause. Thank you. All right, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, let's get into the Juan Thornhill back and forth after a quick word from Uprock. Guys, Uprock's a new sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Visit Upwork.com right now and post about your job for free. That is Upwork.com, UPWORK.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
Good thing you didn't have Anthony spell that, but welcome to Upwork.
Thrilled to have Upwork on board. Yes. But, Bull, there was a little back and forth on Twitter yesterday that I want you to address. So in case you missed it, I'm going to run you through what happened, and then, Bull, you have 5 minutes to just give us everything that's on your mind. But, Steve, let's just take tag board here full and run through it. Juan Thornhill signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he tweeted this video tossing a Browns hat out and putting on Steelers gear. That tweet was then responded by Earl, who said, Bull's going to destroy Juan Thornhill tomorrow. I feel it in all my spirit. Bull then quote tweeted that with 6 exclamation points. Juan Thornhill, without being tagged in any of these tweets, found Bull's tweet and said, "Damn, buddy, you're a little obsessed, don't you think? If you need viewers on your little podcast, just say that." Clown emoji, salt emoji. Bull then responded, "Not surprised," finally tagging Juan Thornhill.
There you go.
"Would be triggered. Thanks for the offer, but me and my little podcast are doing great. And you should like podcasts since you did more talking than playing in Cleveland. Too bad KC still doesn't want you. Maybe next year when the Steelers say bye, ? Thornhill then responded, this is a picture that he tweeted because Tagboard sucks. We can't show you it in once, but he tweeted a picture of Bull and then tweeted a picture of a walrus.
Mike thought it was a hippo.
I did think it was a hippo at first. It turns
I think
out
it's a walrus. It's
it's definitely a walrus.
And
then Bull responded to that with, "I can always count on the fat jokes from those who have nothing else. Congrats on being cliche. Another guy who came to Cleveland talking shit and then wipes out in 2 years after barely playing and then has the nerve to shit on fans with that embarrassing Instagram post." So, Bull, that was the back and forth. The fans had your side. The answers and replies to Thornhill were all on Team Bull. I would say 85 to 15. Team Bull, maybe 90% on Team Bull. Juan Thornhill's wife also got involved with this.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't respond to her at all. But, Bull, the floor is yours. Bring us inside what happened.
Wow.
This is something that has bothered me. When I moved to Cleveland in 2011, I embraced being here. I didn't know in 2011 that I was going to stay in Cleveland the rest of my life. At the time, I didn't want to. Not because it was anything against Cleveland. My dream had always been to get back to New York. That was the goal then. I was younger. I was 40 years old. And that had been the dream because coming up in this business, I was like, the top of the line is New York, and that's where I want to get.
Yep.
And as time went by, that went away for me. I for a number of years, I still wanted to get back to New York for a few, and eventually that went away. And then I thought, I don't know if I want to move. I like it. You know, I'm developing a lot of relationships here, a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of community, a lot of fans. And there was still a time where maybe I wanted to move, possibly for the right gig, and it became less and less places I considered going. To a point where a few years ago, I just said to my wife, we both said, I don't ever want to leave. I love it here. I'm fully ingrained. And I think part of that is through Little League and other things I did in the community, and I just met so many great people, and I felt really a part of the community. I may not have grown up rooting for the Browns, and I'm not going to pretend to be a Browns fan. I want them to win because it's good for business. It's weird because I'm a Bengals fan, and so there obviously some tension there. Anybody that knows me knows I'm diehard for the Guardians, except when they're playing the Cubs, of course. Unfortunately, that was the matchup in the World Series. And I'm a big-time Cavs fan, okay? You believe it, you don't believe it, that's up to you. That's fine. But I'll tell you one thing that nobody can deny, if you know me, is that I'm a Clevelander, okay? I don't care that I wasn't born here. I love this community. I love everything about it. I love the city. I love Lakewood, where I lived when I first moved here. I love Rocky River, which I didn't think I would. When I first moved to Rocky River, I was like, I don't know if we should move to Rocky River. It might be a little hoity-toity. And, yeah, there's part of probably the percentage of people that live by the lake are a little hoity-toity. But most of the people that live in Rocky River that I know are regular people just like everybody else, and they're not hoity-toity. And I love 99.9% of the fans I've met. And this is, at this point in my life, I have no plans to go anywhere else. I'm dying in Cleveland. I'm not moving. At one point, I wanted to retire and move to Florida. I don't want to retire. I want to do this and my little podcast for the rest of my life. I literally don't want to retire. I'm going to do this as long as they keep paying me to do it. Or maybe if they don't, I'll still do it on my own. I don't know. The point is, and I'm sorry I was long-winded here, the point is that I have love for the fans and I have love for the entire Northeast Ohio area. And so it pisses me off when guys come to town. We've seen it with Mike Holmgren when he came here with the don't ask me for playoff tickets. We've seen it with coaches. They got the dog. Everybody likes to play up their Cleveland angle. But you know what? If you're not from here or you've never lived here or at least you've never played here, you don't know what the fans have gone through. It took me some time. It always does when you're new to a community to develop like what the fans are like and what's important. And every time a player comes in here, because he got, promising, we're going to win, we're going to do this, They never back it up. None of the coaches have backed it up. None of the GMs that have come in here and talked a good game, Joe Banner, Mike Holmgren, none of them. They all did talking. They did talking when they got here. They did talking when they leave here. They do nothing while they're here. And we've seen this from multiple players. And Juan Thornhill came in talking a big game. And then when I said, hey, Juan, we've heard this before from people. Don't worry. Like, he's criticized. Oh, the fans are negative. Why wouldn't the fans be negative? The fans are as diehard as any fan base in the country, and all they see is losing. The team hasn't had back-to-back winning seasons in over 30 years. How do you expect people to be positive? People accuse the media of being negative. And I'm not saying there aren't people in the media, just like there are in any other market, that are purposely negative. There's going to be a percentage that's the case. But I can tell you, myself included, and everybody on this show, we want the Browns to win, because if nothing else, it's good for business. More people watch, more people listen, more people are interested when the Browns matter. So even if you don't believe I or anybody else doesn't really care about the Browns, please believe me in telling you that we do. And you know what? I have so many friends here now. I've made a massive community, and with few exceptions, every single one is a Browns fan. You think I want my friends to be miserable? Some people do want their friends to be miserable. I don't. I want them to win. And so I always defend Browns fans, and I defend the people who can't speak to Juan Thornhill. So Juan Thornhill talked a big game. Then he didn't back it up. He was injured. Okay, not his fault. When he was on the field, he never played well. Never. He did nothing. He complained about the bad talk. Then he had the nerve to go on Instagram or whatever he did with this stupid Super Bowl thing when he talked about, oh, I should be in the Super Bowl. Well, the Chiefs didn't want you, buddy. That's why you're on the Browns. And instead of showing some respect, forget the organization, showing respect to the fans. And that stupid Instagram video he posted yesterday was a total slap in the face to fans. How do I know? Because the fans took my side, because they were pissed about it too. He came here, he did nothing for 2 years, and then he goes away and pisses on the fans out the door. I don't care what he says to Jimmy Haslam. The team cut him, I get it. So you want to be bitter against the Browns, fine. But don't take it out on the fans. As I said yesterday, this is the last thing, Mike. I have respect for every player that plays in the NFL. It may not seem like it at times because I get into arguments and I can be dismissive and I call people a scrub. Juan Thornhill is a great football player. He's great. If he wasn't great, he wouldn't have made it to the NFL. But he's not good enough. And he didn't do anything here. Nothing. And now he's going to go to Pittsburgh and he's going to wave a stupid towel and wish him all the best. But screw you, Juan Thornhill. And that's all I got to say. So I always got the fans' back. They had my back yesterday, and that's it.
All right, we're going to talk some Shedeur Sanders now. Boom,
guys got that off your chest.
I told you, 11:10, we had to move on. You spent 6 minutes promoting the Superman project.
Give them 2 minutes, Mike. Give them 2 minutes.
We have
Come on, give them 2 minutes. We'll get all the Shedeur stuff.
You done got all the. You finished your plate.
Well, is there anything else? Do you guys want to address it at all?
Only thing I would say is out of the whole thing is, if you're gonna put out a video, I get that you're mad at the Browns. I do understand that as well. And a lot of the times, a lot of players don't think about the fans. They think about, I'm mad at the organization. So him putting out the video where he throws the Browns hat and comes back with the terrible towel, that's not a shot at the fans. Although it comes off as that way, it's a shot at the organization. And for him, he's using it as motivation to come back and obviously go to the rival team to go against the Browns because he wants to be motivated by all the things. All that said and done, if you throw some video out there, you got to put in a lot of thought into it. You can't just you can't be tunnel vision and just be locked in on one thing. You got to think, how is everybody going to react to this video, which is something that he clearly didn't do. I don't think he meant offense by it, but it came off as very offensive, and that's why the back and forth stuff is what it is. You were 100% right with everything that you said. He had some injuries here. He didn't live up to the person that he thought that he would be, and I think he would probably agree with you on that. I think that's why he's got so much animosity, because he realizes that I did fail. I did say all these things. I did make these promises, and I didn't deliver. So he's lashing out because he's frustrated with that. But at the end of the day, listen, Go have a great career in Pittsburgh, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope you bounce back and do well in Pittsburgh. It didn't work out here. There's no need to dog media members or try to be mad at media members because injuries is part of the game. It's 100% gonna happen, and that's what hampered your career and with the Cleveland Browns. Stop wishing that you was with Kansas City. Be where your feet are. Try to make that situation the best, and try to do that in Pittsburgh. That's all I gotta say.
Hey, didn't work out here. Juan Thornhill came here. He said a lot of things. I think one of the main things is that he kind of feels like he didn't live up to expectations, and he knows he didn't play well here. And that's why, he's using some of this stuff to try to get back and to get his standing. I mean, you come from a championship organization to you didn't play for 2 years. Now you're going to the Steelers. But you know what it is, man. At one point in time, if you're talking about the Steelers, it's the Brown Steelers. We're not going to have no love for that. Like, you understand what type of time we on. Like, we still trying to figure out Kenny Pickett. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with him. And he on the roster. I don't know how. So you know what it is. People going to come after you. But here's the thing. Listen, hopefully your next coaches will tell you, listen, if you play well, that takes care of a lot of things. I don't wish no ill will on you, bro. But, when you bring smoke up, you're going to get this smoke. Bull going to feel how he going to feel. It is what it is.
All right, speaking of quarterbacks, you mentioned Kenny Pickett. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders.
Yep, after a quick word from FanDuel, guys, March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. There is a UCSS bracket challenge. We have the link in the chat if you want to join that now. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Guys, over the last 24 hours, there has been a ton of Shedeur Sanders to Cleveland smoke that's been gaining traction. On Monday, Jordan Reed of ESPN mocked Shedeur Sanders to the Browns at number 2. Yesterday, Todd McShay put out his newsletter. Todd McShay's coming on the show tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. And the opening of his newsletter, the start of his podcast, was why Shedeur to Cleveland makes a ton of sense. The Browns tweeted out this yesterday. Could be nothing, could be something. But they are hosting a season ticket holder draft night show, and they have a private concert from Journey. I can't imagine they would hire Journey to play a private concert for season ticket holders, only to draft a left tackle or defensive end that to me screams quarterback. Guys, we'll talk to Shaun King in a sec on his breakdown of Shedeur Sanders. But first, real quick, Tyvis and G, I'll start with you. Ty, you can start here. Are you buying this latest round of smoke and rumors connecting Shedeur Sanders to the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, as I go back and forth with this whole thing and this draft process, I promise you, I've weighed the options. And to be honest with you, I've always do pros and cons on all of the 3 options. I'm going to take Cam Ward out because I'm going to assume that he's not going to be on the board. So when I look at the 3 options of Shedeur, Abdul, and Travis, I just always come back to the fact that everybody always says, if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you have nothing. And I get that there is some concerns. He's not the most athletic guy or his arm strength and all those things. And what makes me laugh about it all is the reason why I feel like him coming to Cleveland is perfect in this scenario is because when you look at the quarterbacks that Kevin Stefanski had that's had the most success, were not the most athletic. Maybe you could say Joe Flacco had maybe a strong arm, but, it's tough on the decline. But the rest of them, none of them really had all these things, and yet they were able to be successful in this offense. The 3, I'm talking Baker, Jacoby, and Joe Flacco. None of them really scream like they're the most athletic guy or they have these crazy traits. No, good leaders. Good decision making. I know how you feel about Baker. I know how you feel about Joe Flacco. But for the most part, good decision making. And these guys is playing on a time system. And I think that's where Shedeur thrives at. So to me, I think he would be the pick that I would go with at 2 because of the fact that you need a quarterback. I think he fits all of those traits. And the one thing that he continues to say that does make a lot of sense is that he says that everywhere we've been, like me and my father, we've taken the place and made it better before we left. And when you look at the Cleveland Browns situation, that's the kind of guy that you need. You need a guy that's went into a situation before. It's not foreign to him. He's been to a situation where the team wasn't great, and he's somehow figured out a way to help them become better. And I think when you look at it, I'm not saying that maybe he's not the franchise guy. Maybe he's not the guy 5 years from now. But I do think that he could be the starter to help this franchise get back to where they want to get to. I think he does have the intangibles to do those things. Maybe he could come off as a J.B. Bickerstaff, where you got a guy that can lay the foundation. Maybe he's not the guy that can take you all the way. I'm not saying he isn't. He probably can be. But I'm just saying maybe he's that guy that can at least get you started in the right direction, because that's what you need right now. You need to give hope. And I think the way Shedeur talks and carries himself, the way that he plays, he's going to give hope to everybody in that locker room. Like, all right, we got a dude who's been around football. He's had greatness. He doesn't care about the criticism because he's dealt with those things. Like, you got to have thick skin to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and I think he will have those things. My only thing that he ever did that I didn't like was it was a time, I can't remember if he was at Jackson State or Colorado, where he got sacked a lot and he blamed his offensive line in that game. That was the only time I ever had, like, you can't be doing that as a leader. Outside of that, everything else is good, and I think he'll be fine with the Cleveland Browns. So, yes, I am. To answer your question, I am buying the smoke.
Well, I've always bought the smoke, and rightfully so. I always ask people.
It's that gas, too.
I always ask people why you don't like Shedeur Sanders, or why you just don't believe that this guy is the guy. And usually people give you a vague answer like, I just don't like this draft class. No, what does that really mean? I said, have you watched any games? No, I didn't watch them very much. Did you get any all-22? No, not really. I said, so you just telling me you don't like him because your friend said you didn't like him, or what you heard? Well, I just don't think he has the arm strength. Okay, well, I mean, if you rank the listing of arm strengths of the top players, you know, there's always some little conglomerate at the top. There's a couple of people with great arms, but is Patrick Mahomes' arm better than Josh Allen? No. Is Josh Allen as athletic as Lamar Jackson? No. But everybody is in some sort of, you know, conglomerate at the top, where you have guys have different skill sets, but you don't need to have a rocket arm.
Joe Burrow doesn't have a monster arm.
Doesn't have a monster arm.
Monster.
He's not very, you know, he's not fast, but he's mobile in the pocket. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at his numbers and I say, okay, well look at his numbers. You take a look. He takes a lot of sacks. I'll give you that, but his offensive line is bad. It got a little better this year. He's played under Pat Shurmur, who was a NFL type caliber coach. He played with Coach Prime, and he's done something nobody else has done. He did something Steve McNair didn't even do. No one has ever gone from an HBCU, which in my opinion, the level of competition at a HBCU is lower than a MAC school.
I agree.
No one has ever gone from an HBCU and stepped to a Division I program and been mentioned for a Heisman. It has never happened. It's not possible. Like, you can watch at Jackson State, you can look at Walter Payton, you can look at some of the Dante Culpeppers. Those guys did not even play and move at that level. They won one game. One game. They won 1-11 at Colorado. They won 4 games the next year, all the way to 9 games the next year, and all they had was Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. So for me, I look at his body of work as a quarterback.
Oh, they had Jimmy Horn Jr. too. Shout out to Jimmy.
I like
Horn
Jimmy Horn too. We forgot. I usually mention
a few guys, but
they got a couple. They got a couple of dudes, right?
I'll let you do that.
And so my thing is, and here's how I'm going to stop this immediately, because I've been letting this slide too much. And I wasn't going to get hyperbolic with this situation, but y'all will hire dudes. Quit it.
Oh.
Listen,
listen. Hey.
Hold on.
Hold on. I ain't gonna let you do that.
Hold on. We was gonna give you 3rd round. We was being polite. We even didn't say nothing until you moved him into the end of the 2nd round. I said, okay, well, listen, it's a preference battle. Mm-hmm. But Jay Crawford, under no circumstances, if I read the tapes, after the tapes came back, you didn't move this man into the back of the 1st round. Talking about, let's get a 5-year, let's get the 5th-year contract on him too.
Yeah.
No. We're not going to keep doing that.
Yeah. Jay said that?
All right.
Under no circumstances is Will Howard on the same level of Shedeur Sanders.
Fact.
Do not at me.
Hey.
Do not keep talking about this.
Hey.
If you want to go hunting with him, if you want to go fishing with him, if you think that you like the way he walks down the street with his regular jeans, that's fine. But under no circumstances is he better than Shedeur Sanders. Let me just go ahead and there you go.
There you go. So I got plenty I want to say about Shedeur Sanders. I have changed my mind. I've been up and down on him. In a little bit, I'm going to tell you why. This is the highest I've been on Shedeur Sanders right now in this entire process. That later. First, let's hear from a guy who knows. He knows all quarterbacks. He's lost on Jameis Winston, but he's got everything else right when it comes to quarterback. It's Shaun King with his breakdown of Shedeur Sanders.
Well, if Cam Ward isn't the pick for the Browns at 2 and both quarterbacks are on the board, the other option is Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado quarterback, the son of Deion. And when you look at some of the tape, we found 3 plays from his game this season against Cincinnati. There are certainly some throws that make you go, okay, I can see it. And Shaun, I'm curious, as a former quarterback, if you see it too.
Shedeur Sanders, big-time brand, big-time platform. Is he a big-time player? Roll this clip. It's some good and it's some bad when we're talking Shedeur. I like this because it's within the structure of the play, which you don't always see with Shedeur. And I think the one elite trait that he has is ball location when he throws the ball in rhythm. Like, that's a great throw because it gets over the underneath defender. It's to the sideline where only his wide receiver can catch it. It's a tight, restricted window. And you see these kind of throws pop up all across Shedeur's film. The question will be, is he disciplined enough to do this all the time? Because all of the things that I said Cam Ward is, Shedeur is not necessarily. He does not have a huge, big-time arm. He's not a elite-level athlete. He doesn't have Josh Allen's size, but he gets it done. Drew Brees, I think, is one of the top 5 passing yardage leaders in NFL history. Can Shedeur turn himself into a Drew Brees type quarterback? I think he can. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not convinced he's my number 2 quarterback, but he's in the conversation because the one thing I do know about Shedeur, he can handle the spotlight. Unlike all of the other quarterbacks in this class, when you talk about Cam Ward, a lot of people didn't know who Cam Ward was until he got to Miami this year. You talk about Tyler Shook. Nobody knew who he was after the season. Kyle McCord, a lot of people didn't know he played at Syracuse. Jackson Dart, he's kind of just been one of the guys at Ole Miss that Lane's kind of, found since he's been there. So Shedeur's the one guy in this group that we know that can handle the spotlight.
Accuracy is something you hear quite a bit when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, Shaun. And this play against Cincinnati, I thought was a pretty darn accurate ball, considering he's fitting it between not 2, but 3 Cincinnati defenders.
As I mentioned in the previous clip, ball location is Shedeur's elite trait. He does a great job of locating the football, especially when he throws the ball in rhythm. If you want to go ahead and run the play, this is a situation where they're play action passing, trying to get the underneath coverage to move up. And, that's just a really good ball. And here's the thing about Shedeur. If he did this all the time, I would say Cam Ward has legit competition to be the first quarterback selected in this draft. Because when Shedeur plays within the system, gets rid of the ball quickly, on rhythm, on time, he is a really good quarterback. The problem is he doesn't consistently do this. He tries to extend too many plays. He tries to create too many big plays. Can that be coached out of him at the next level? We're going to see. But this version of Shedeur that we're showing in these clips is a really good quarterback and one that's going to have a lot of success in the National Football League.
All right, last clip from Shedeur here. This ends up being a touchdown, Shaun. But of the 3 throws, this may be the worst of the 3, despite the fact it ended with 6 points here. There have been questions about Shedeur's arm strength, and it's something that he's going to have to answer throughout the pre-draft process and at his pro day, because there are enough throws like this on tape that I do think makes his arm strength concern valid.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think Shedeur's elite trait is his ball location. Also the fact that he's been in the spotlight since he was a teenager, so he can deal with that kind of pressure. But let's start with the good on this play. Go ahead and run it, Mike. The one thing you cannot question about Shedeur Sanders is he mentally and physically tough? This is a situation where his right tackle gets beat, he gets pressure, he stands in the pocket and tries to deliver the ball. Just watch the rush and watch the throw. You see, that guy's getting to him, so he can't step into the ball. Now, to your point, Mikey, here's where, to me, the separation starts to happen with Cam Ward. We saw Cam, without being able to step into the ball, into the throw, still be able to put these throws accurately with velocity down the field. And so when I say Shedeur's arm talent isn't on the same level as some of the other guys in this class, this is what I mean. He identified the coverage. He had the toughness to sit in the pocket. But because he does not have elite arm talent, this ball flutters a little bit, Still completes the throw now. Don't take that away from him. But when we're talking evaluating who can change a franchise, all of these things matter. And I think this is the one area where Cam Ward is significantly ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And that's just arm talent, the ability to make these tough throws and still put velocity on the ball when you're in a compromised position, releasing the football.
And that's something that even as you develop as a person, get stronger, that can change a little bit, but you either have it or you don't in terms of arm talent, right, Shaun? That's not something
that's generally a God-given thing. You know, either you're born with it or you're not. I mean, you can do things to strengthen your core, you know, to tighten your fundamentals that allow you to throw the ball with a little more velocity and torque than what you normally would. But the guys with the big arms, you know, those guys got them. Now, they're not always the best quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong. And if Cam Ward didn't have the film he had to go with that big arm, I wouldn't be sitting here advocating for him. Jamarcus Russell had a huge arm. To be honest, Jalen Milroe probably has the biggest arm in this draft class, and he's not the quarterback that Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward are.
Well, that was Shaun King. You can hear him break down Cam Ward yesterday. Tomorrow on our quarterback breakdown series with Shaun King, Tyler Shook.
Yeah.
Bull's going to react to what he heard from Shaun King
after
we talk to our next guest. But right now we are thrilled to welcome in Ross Tucker. He's the host of the Ross Tucker podcast. If you don't follow him on social media, at Ross Tucker NFL, you're missing out. One of the best in the business, one of the more entertaining guys on Twitter, and he does a great podcast. He broke down running backs this morning on his show with Greg Cosell. Check it out. We recommend it. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Ross Tucker to the show. Ross, give us a little bit on future fans, because we think it's a great idea and how it help build the next generation of the people who love and support the NFL.
You guys in Cleveland are going to appreciate this, because I met these guys. They actually live in Columbus, but they're both Bengals fans. And so a few years ago, when the Bengals made their run to the Super Bowl, they were watching the playoff game. They couldn't get their kids to sit down and watch the game with them. I don't know if anybody watching or listening or whatever, if you've ever tried to explain to a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old what football is like and how it works, it's very, very difficult. These guys have kind of cracked the code. It's a storybook-led activity box, which is amazing, right? You go ahead and you read a story, which a 5-year-old, 7-year-old wants to do, and then there's an activity like a ring toss game that teaches them the downs, because they couldn't get their kids to watch and their kids are like, we'll watch next year. They're like, no, you don't understand. We're the Bengals. This only happens like every 30 years. Sit your butt down on the couch and watch. So if you want your kid to love sports as much as you do, in particular football, and have that gift for the rest of their life, sitting there watching the Browns games with you, check out futurefans.com. These guys did a great job with it. And they're local for you guys, which is really cool. Futurefans.com.
You know, Ross, I'm glad. It's good to see you, and I'm glad you brought this company up, and I'm glad you're doing business with them. Because when I had not heard about it until I heard you were coming on, and so I go on the website to look at it, and I could understand where they were coming from, because as someone who grew up in New York rooting for the Cubs and the Bengals, my dad was, but my parent, like after my dad was out of the picture, I had nobody to ever celebrate good moments with. And when the Bengals did go to the Super Bowl, a few years ago, as you talked about, my son was 9, and he's not a big sports fan, but he got into it that postseason, and we watched it together, and it meant so much more to me to have him there watching it with me. So it is cool.
Well, and what's funny about that, Adam, is like my daughters, I work for the Eagles and we live in Eastern PA. So, I took them to the Super Bowl, and obviously that was a great experience. My older one turned 13. I realized based on the questions they were asking me, I really did not do a very good job. They're 13 and 11. Now, I don't know if that's like if I get a pass because I'm away every weekend, right, or what, but they definitely did not know a lot about football other than they like to cheer on Penn State and the Eagles. I mean, they were asking now some of the questions were good, but even I, as a television analyst who did a couple Browns games last year, including that win over the Ravens, by the way, even I did a terrible job explaining football to my kids. So futurefans.com, evidently they're even better than I am.
And by the way, Ross, I'm just going to sound like I'm saying this because he's on with us. But Ross, in addition to doing a great job on the podcast, I especially love when you have Greg Cosell on. You have him on every week, right? Isn't it every week?
Yeah, every week. Yeah, every week.
Yeah. So, but you really do a great job as an analyst. I like listening to you on the radio. I've heard you on the radio a number of times. You do a hell of a job. I feel like you're a little under the radar in terms of the NFL analyst game. But I'm impressed. I like listening to you. I feel like I learn, even doing this for 25 years, listening or watching you on the broadcast. So I appreciate your work.
So that means a lot. I love doing it. I'm kind of getting there, Adam. I'm getting there. I always say three things, right? If you watch me do a game, hopefully you learn something. Probably O-line, D-line play, but hopefully you learn something. Hopefully you can tell more than anything. I love it. Like, I love football. Yes. I have from the first moment my parents took me to a Penn State game. Like, I've always just adored the sport. And last thing is that hopefully you laugh. And you might be laughing at me. I'm cool with that. Just I hope you laugh at some point during the game.
No doubt.
You guys just brought up something. Obviously, you say you cover the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, they've been to a couple of Super Bowl. Bull talks about the Cincinnati Bengals. I think with Bengals have been to, what, 3 or 4?
3.
So this for Browns fans is like, when we get to the draft and people say, you don't want to reach on a quarterback. It's like your married friends that go home to somebody every day and you're single and you're like, don't worry about this marriage thing. It's way overrated. You're like, dude, I'm making my own. I sleep by myself. I make my own dinner and I got to do my laundry. Are you trolling us? So when we get to these drafts and we waiting to go down to get the Shedeur Sanders or whoever it's going to be, when people try to tell us to take Abdul Carter, a defensive end, I get triggered. I'm like, no, I don't. I have Myles Garrett and I'm not winning. Why would I get Abdul Carter still? I need a quarterback. So tell me why in this class would it not be a smart idea to take a quarterback?
You know, man, I totally sympathize with where you're coming from because it's funny. This happens in a lot of cities where I go on and talk with them. If they're not good and they don't have a quarterback, they really don't even care which one they take. It's like, just take a quarterback and give me hope, which a couple things on that. Number one, I think it's in part why teams do that sometimes. And number two, it's a horrible strategy. I mean, a terrible, terrible idea to just take one and hope that guy pans out with where you take him. I got to tell you, I think the Browns are in a bad spot, but a good spot, depending on your perspective, right? I think they're in a bad spot in the sense that I would not take a quarterback at 2, right? I firmly believe that Cam Ward will be the number 1 overall pick of the Tennessee Titans unless the New York Giants trade up to 1 because they're incredibly desperate to get a franchise quarterback there to try to save the jobs of their GM Joe Shane and head coach Brian Daboll. One way or the other, though, Cam Ward's going 1, right? So where does that leave the Cleveland Browns at 2? I personally would be very hesitant to take Shedeur Sanders with the number 2 overall pick. And part of that is because I'm not convinced he's really that much better of a prospect than some of the other guys that are available. So what I've said, and maybe you guys feel like you have that on some level with Pickett, what the Falcons are doing with Cousins is kind of muddying the waters a little bit. But I've said for a while, I thought the slam dunk for the Browns, was to take either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, who would be an amazing pick at number 2. I'm a huge Travis Hunter guy. So you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. You either have Myles off one edge and Abdul off the other, or you have Myles rushing, and then a corner, you have Denzel and Hunter, and then Hunter can be one of your receivers in 3 receiver packages. So I love the idea of taking either one of those guys. And then in terms of the veteran quarterback, we can talk about whether that's Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson to compete with Pickett. But then I think you might have your pick at the top of the second round. I don't know if it'll be the next quarterback. I don't know if Shedeur would still be there, but it wouldn't shock me. But even some of these other guys, maybe you really like Jackson Dart. A guy I'm very intrigued by is Jalen Milroe from Alabama. The guy is absolute lightning, okay, running the ball. I've had people tell me they think he's further ahead than Jalen Hurts was at this stage. I don't know if I agree with that or not. He does definitely have a stronger arm than Jalen Hurts. And the guy won the Campbell Trophy. I don't know if you guys are that familiar, but the Campbell Trophy is basically the academic Heisman. That's crazy impressive to me. I mean, to have the physical ability he has and then to also win the Campbell Trophy. So I like the idea of taking Jalen Milroe. And listen, if they really love one of these other guys, Jackson Dart or whoever, at the top of round 2, we can do that. I wouldn't waste the number 2 pick, though, on a guy like Sanders when there's a chance he's still available at the top of the second round. But even if he's not, some of the guys that are very close to him in terms of how these teams have him ranked on their draft boards.
You know, you did running backs today, and obviously the Browns, so for the moment, are moving on from Nick Chubb. You know, second round, third round, what running backs do you think would be a good fit for the Cleveland Browns?
Well, so what's interesting about that is, you know, you're in a situation where they're saying it's one of the best running back drafts in a long time. Now, if you're talking later on, second or third round, you're not really talking about, you know, Ashton Genty or Omarion Hampton or some of these other guys. But I can tell you on today's Ross Tucker podcast, Greg Cosell, he loves Damian Martinez, you know, from University of Miami. I did one of his games, and he was at Oregon State. He can really play later on. Obviously, both Ohio State kids are available, and you can decide which one you like differently. Those guys are very different players. You know, Travion Henderson has the juice, more like Greg compared him to a Brian Westbrook or Aaron Jones type, whereas Judkins is more the sustaining runner. There's other guys, you know. I mean, how can you not love Cam Scatterbo? Maybe we should go back to the Peyton Hillis era. Get Cam Scatterbo out there 20 times a game.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of it's an interesting draft, Ross, because it seems like the positions that are deepest in this draft are the positions that are not the positions that people are more enamored with, right? Tight end, running back, linebacker. It seems to be a very good draft for those 3 positions, but not the sexy left tackles, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Is that fair to say?
It is fair to say, and it's a little bit weird to me that, you know, that there aren't better players in this year's draft. You know, people are saying that, of course, the year that the Browns are drafting, that the high end isn't great, although there's still plenty of 10 to 12 guys. Listen, the problem is if you're drafting like 15, 16, 17, 18, you might be drafting guys that teams have a second-round grade on. That's not the case for you guys, okay? You're going to get a difference-making player with the number 2 overall pick. I think that – I'm curious. You guys tell me. I know everybody wants a quarterback, but I already told you how we can split the baby and you can get a quarterback at the top of the second round. I'm curious, where are most of your viewers right now when it comes to Abdul Carter versus Travis Hunter? Because I think that's fascinating.
I think the majority of our viewers, listeners, want Abdul Carter. If I'm not taking a quarterback at 2, I'm 100% taking Travis Hunter.
I think people in this market love offensive linemen. You'll run across people in the grocery store. G. Bush, take an offensive tackle every year.
Will Campbell.
Take a D tackle every year, and they love the trenches. But Travis Hunter to me is special. I don't know why you pass that up.
Just so you guys know, I did a Colorado State game this year on TV for CBS. So I watched a lot of Travis Hunter, and I live close to Penn State. So I've watched almost every snap Abdul Carter has played. I don't think you can go wrong with either guy. I will say this. The play you just showed, that interception right now against Colorado State, Travis Hunter, I mean, even just going to practice, he's like a unicorn out there. I mean, the way he attacks the ball, as much as I love Abdul Carter, okay, and he does he's not quite Micah, by the way, in terms of his movement skills, but he's got some similarities. Travis Hunter, you're getting 1.5 positions. I mean, you're going to have obviously one of the best corner duos in the league, but then you're going to have them out there on important passing downs when you have 3 receiver sets. It's really hard to argue with the value that Hunter would provide at, let's just call it a position and a half. Abdul Carter, he's not playing running back for you. I think you could make an argument of just Hunter the corner versus Abdul Carter the edge rusher, but Hunter's giving you the receiver snaps too, which he's going to be a threat. He's going to be a factor. I would go Hunter, and I watched Abdul Carter when he was at LaSalle College High School outside of Philly. So I've been watching Abdul for a long time. I would even go Travis Hunter.
Real quick, just to follow up, because you asked about the fans, Mike just put a poll up like 3 minutes ago. We already got about 400 responses. So
right.
Quickly, the 400 responses, what's the percentage?
Yeah, we got 2,400 people watching live and only 400 responses in 3 minutes. So the other 2,100 people watching live, click on the
what are you guys
poll.
doing?
Let's get your votes in.
That's still a lot of responses in like 3 minutes. But
that is fair.
Yeah.
It's only been up for 2 minutes and it's almost 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But 58%, 57%, it's going back and forth right now, teetering between 57 and 58%. Prefer Travis Hunter at 2 over Carter if quarterback is not
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Ross, I want to go back to your Jalen Milroe in the second round because it's interesting that you say that. The thing about Jalen Milroe, I want to know what you think his flaws is because, he was at the Senior Bowl, and they said his stock dropped, and the Browns coaching staff actually was working with him there. So, and obviously they got Tommy Rees as the offensive coordinator now, who's familiar with Jalen Milroe. So what are some things that you think Tommy Rees and that coaching staff thought about Jalen Milroe to discourage him from why couldn't he be a first-round pick? What's the flaws? What does he need to work on?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're the Browns and you're working with Jalen Milroe and you love him, you should tell everybody, boy, this guy stinks. He really I don't know about this guy. I wouldn't take him to the 5th round. It's funny because 2 years ago, guys, I called Alabama Ole Miss for CBS. And I'm only telling you that because Tommy Rees was the OC for Alabama, and they had just benched Milroe the week before. They had benched him. He didn't play at all against South Florida. So this was his game coming back. So 2 things on Milroe. Number 1, he threw some like head scratcher interceptions, right? He had some really bad turnovers where you would just be like, what is this guy doing? The second thing is the belief right now is that he's not a polished, nuanced pocket passer. That's the concern. What I would say to you guys is a couple things. Number 1, if you remember, the second half of the Tommy Rees year into the SEC championship game and the college football playoff, Milroe was playing really well for Tommy Rees. Tommy had Milroe playing at a high level. Now, he didn't elevate his game last year with Kalen DeBoer like people thought he might. He didn't take that next level step. I don't think the Alabama people and team around him was as good. Mm-hmm. And also, it's not easy for a guy to learn a new offense. What would he have done this past year with Tommy Rees? I wonder that. I don't know that. The beauty of if you get him in the second round is you can give him a little bit of time, right? You can go with Cousins or, Russell Wilson or Kenny Pickett or whatever for a while, see if it's going okay with those guys. But we know what the Browns want to get back to. They want to get back to running the ball, play action, bootlegs. This guy was like Alabama's fastest player. So I want you to picture you on all those bootlegs, okay? him pulling out and running out there, when you run a bootleg, the reads are cleaned up. It's easier. It's not a straight drop back pass where you have to go through your progression reads. And either the guy's wide open. If it's not, Milroe can tuck it away and get a bunch of yards for the Browns. So, Tommy will know him better than anybody. So I'm sure he'll have a strong opinion of Milroe versus Jackson Dart versus Shedeur versus Ewers versus Kyle McCord. That would be funny if the Browns drafted Kyle McCord after the way you guys ran him out of Columbus.
Hey, listen, we didn't run him out of nowhere.
Ross, I want, as we look at all these quarterbacks, my final thing on this is, put on your crystal, look into your crystal ball here, and I believe in this day and age, I know that some fans think, you could have a mediocre quarterback and win a Super Bowl. I don't believe that. I think you have to have a tier 1 or tier 2 quarterback. So we'll say top 10 to make it easier. If you had to guess 5 years from now, of all the quarterbacks in this draft besides Cam Ward, who has the best chance of being a top 10 quarterback, who would it be? Because that's the guy I'm going to draft.
Oh, such a great question. What's interesting to me, too, about that, Bull, is, I watch every Eagles game. Jalen Hurts did not perform like a top 10 quarterback for the most part this season until the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The rest of their roster was just that good. But then he did when they needed him to, and they won both games by 30 points. Right? Because I was making the case, and this is mind-boggling if you think about it.
Yeah.
They would have beat the Commanders and the Chiefs even if he didn't play that well. Like, the Eagles could have won the Super Bowl with a quarterback playing average at best, which is unheard of, but sort of goes a little bit against what you said.
That's true.
Although I would agree, you need a guy that's tier 1 or tier 2. Man, that's tough. I always say when somebody asks me a question like that, I always say, what would I bet on?
Right.
Okay. What do I think is the most likely? And I would probably say Shedeur. I would probably say Shedeur over the other guys. But the guys in my head, when you ask that, it's Shedeur and Milroe. It's not Dart or Ewers or McCord. I think those other guys, to me, end up being backups. I think it's Shedeur or Milroe, and they are like polar opposites, okay? I mean, Milroe, the physical ability, the professionalism, Shedeur, just the great feel for throwing the ball from the pocket. The thing is you think about the tier 1 guys, Bull, okay? Think about Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or a lot of these guys. That's not Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't have the big arm. He doesn't have the really impressive mobility. I mean, if you just watched him and Milroe throw or watched them run, you'd be like, yeah, no way, I'm taking that guy. For Shedeur Sanders to have success, he needs to be like Bo Nix. He really needs to be like, as Brian Callahan has compared him, he needs to be like Joe Burrow because he doesn't have a huge arm, doesn't run that well. That's asking a lot. I mean, Burrow is like a savant mentally and incredibly accurate, and he has star receivers there. I think that's asking a lot for Shedeur to be that good mentally and with his accuracy to be a tier 1 guy like a Burrow.
Ross, great stuff as always,
Appreciate it.
Everybody check out the Ross Tucker podcast. It's awesome, one of the best out there. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, great being on with you guys. Congrats on all your success. Bull in particular, known you for a long time. I'm thrilled you guys are killing it with this show. Happy to come on anytime. I got a YouTube channel. People want to check it out.
Check
Ross
it out.
Tucker NFL. And don't forget about Future Fans. See you, boys.
Future Fans, it's cool. Thanks, Ross.
Ross Tucker,
Appreciate
one of the
it, man.
best
He's
in the
awesome.
business. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. We're going to react to some of the Shedeur stuff,
that.
but I got to
Yeah.
get a quick read in first. Guys, Living for We joined the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show family yesterday. They are back today. What happens when a regular day at school turns into the worst day of your life? Unfortunately, that's a reality that happens way too frequently in today's world. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America and in communities of color. The impact is even greater. Every bullet fired creates two victims, the person in front of the gun and the one pulling the trigger. Living for We, Keep Your Head Up podcast is an award-winning show that focuses on real stories, real struggles, and real solutions in Northeast Ohio. New episodes drop every other Tuesday. The next episode comes out 1 week from today, where you'll hear from host Marlene Harris-Taylor and her new co-host Maisha Watkins, the executive director of the Cleveland Peacemakers. No one does a better job of bringing you stories from the front lines, the victims, the survivors, and those fighting for change. In each episode, they sit down with different organizations that are working to end gun violence and provide resources for those affected. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcasts or watch the video version on IdeaStream's YouTube channel. Learn more at ideastream.com/podcast/Living for We. Subscribe today for Living for We on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast.
Mike, I love that IdeaStream. I love IdeaStream. I love this podcast, and I'm very proud that they're a part of our show. I think it's great.
It is. We're thrilled to have them on board. They're also the title sponsor of the Ultimate 216 show, which Earl does in terms of culture and sports.
Fantastic.
We had Ross come on right after we heard from Shaun King. But you didn't get a chance to give us your 2 cents on Shedeur. We heard what Ross Tucker thought about Shedeur. So before we bring on John Fanta in about 5 minutes, we'll just recap the rest of that conversation. What are your thoughts?
Guys, that was a fascinating conversation there with Ross, and I loved his analysis because so often people make things so black and white, and there's gray area, and he really told you about that. Like, in the end, he said, if I had to bet on any of these other guys, I'd bet on Shedeur, and yet he said, I wouldn't draft him at 2 because I think I might be able to get him at 33. And even if I don't, I know I can get Jalen Milroe, and I don't think the gap is that big. If he's right that the gap is not that big, and if he thinks Jalen Milroe is, then I understand where he's coming from. The reason I've all of a sudden gotten high on Deion Sanders. Shedeur Sanders.
If someone's not high,
you should have been high on Deion your entire life.
I've been high on Deion. The reason I've gotten high on Shedeur Sanders, and we've seen it pointed out, but Ross kind of pointed it out too. The comparisons, and I know he's not as highly thought of coming out of college, obviously, otherwise it would be a no-brainer he'd go 1.
Yeah.
But I've now heard a couple of people compare him to Joe Burrow. Yeah. Because Joe Burrow's elite traits are intangibles.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with Shedeur. Now, I don't know that he's going to be as good as Joe Burrow. That's a pretty darn high bar. But his best traits are his intangibles. The guy's super smart. He's accurate. He has good ball placement. Yes, his athleticism. I think maybe his athleticism is overly criticized.
Yes, it is.
Dad was such a freak athlete.
Yes.
Right? So, he's probably a perfectly fine athlete. He's just not a special elite crazy athlete like Deion, who could be. You know what I mean? So, I just think there's a lot of little things. And I think Shedeur's probably also got the safest floor. And listen, if he only lives up to his floor, which is mid-pack quarterback, it's not going to be good enough in the long term. But at least it gives you something to keep you competitive potentially. I just think, he has this relationship with Tom Brady, right? Nobody thought anything of Tom Brady coming out of college. He didn't have any special traits. Like Burrow, what did Tom Brady have? Special intangibles. We didn't know that, right? And I just feel like the upside with Shedeur, where he might not get there, maybe he's never going to be a top 10 quarterback, but I think it could be there because of all the intangibles that he's have. And those things, guys, can't be taught. You can work on footwork. You can work on, whatever. There's other things physically that you can work on to get better. If you're being a great leader, having accuracy to some degree, that can be worked on to some degree. Having the mental aspect of the game to diagnose like Joe Burrow does, you have that or you don't. Those are things that are either in you, and it seems like he has those things.
Well, the thing that I liked about, one, I've been around Joe Burrow. Joe is a dog. Like, Joe is, the one thing I love about Joe is that it don't matter what the score is. If you got Joe Burrow as quarterback, he gonna give you a chance to win the game in the end. And as a football player on a team, that's what you want out of your quarterback. Like, no matter who we going against, it could be the Bears in the 80s. Joe at the end of the game, Joe gonna give us a chance to win this game. And if Shedeur has that same mentality, that's what you need in this locker room. I told y'all the last time I was on about the losing culture and all those things.
Yeah.
We have to dead that. And if Shedeur is the guy that can change that, that is much better than any other quarterback can do it. If you could change the mentality of the other 52 guys in the locker room, that's what this team needs the most right now. As far as, the accuracy and all those things, a lot of people think that arm talent is just, they got a very strong arm.
Right.
And to me, what's more annoying than going up against somebody with a strong arm is the guy that got great ball placement. And that's another thing that you hear with Shedeur. Yeah. You know how annoying it is to be all over somebody, all over a receiver to try to make the play, but the ball is just out of your reach. Like, it's so annoying.
Right there.
But we just seen Shaun King show the play of him rolling to the left, throwing it on the sideline where only his guy can get it. That's what you want. That's the same thing they said about Joe Burrow. Yeah. His arm isn't that strong, but his placement. C.J. Stroud, another guy, his ball placement was just unbelievable. So when you hear these things, it's like, okay, I would definitely take Shedeur at 2 at these things. I know people are like, well, I don't want to take him at 2. I tell you what, if you don't take him 2, it's a guarantee that the Giants are going to take him at 3. I don't know why everybody's talking about he might be there at 21 or 30. No, if you don't take him, the Giants are in the same boat that you're. Unless they sign Russell Wilson, they are in the same boat that you are in. He will be gone at 3. So the Browns are in a predicament with, if you really need a quarterback, you have to take that guy, because if you don't, you will be looking at the Jalen Milroes and all these other guys.
It's so funny because the Browns showed you what the blueprint is when you draft defensive ends at the top of the draft. Myles Garrett, he's a Hall of Famer, it's great. But if you want to rewind back to sticks and you go and you say who they should have took Patrick Mahomes. That was the choice.
That's right.
Because you get a guy that's a Hall of Famer does not make you feel comfortable when you still don't win no championships, bro. And you're asking people to do that again. Let's get another defensive end while Washington Commanders get their quarterback, while Chicago gets their quarterback, while everybody gets their quarterback, and then you get halfway through the season and we start talking again. Well, Bull, we can't score any points. Where's our running game at? Yeah. Wow, the defense played really good. I thought they did some things, held up to 14 points, but you got 10 points again. You've been saying the same song and dance since 1999. You've been still doing it. Now look, if you're gonna talk about Shedeur Sanders at 2, there's no such thing as a reach. People talk. A reach is basically saying I'm putting my expectations based on what your opinion of a player is. If you need a quarterback, and somebody else does not have Shedeur Sanders at 2 and he's at 20, why would I base my expectation levels on their scouting department? I hire people.
By the way, Shedeur has played under pressure his whole career. None of these other quarterbacks can say that. Being the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns holds a level of pressure that I don't know if any other job does.
It's a top 5. It's a top 5 pressure job.
There's a level of pressure of every other quarterback has shit the bed. And with him, I don't worry about that. With any other quarterback, I don't know.
And when he comes in here, half the fan base is not going to be on board with it. Not even as half, at least 25% is going to be like
25. I think half strong, but
half is strong. 25%.
If his and ultimately, as I've thought about this more last week, we got John.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Oh, okay. Then we'll keep going. And the more I've thought about it.
We do have John in 1 sec, so last point.
If Shedeur Sanders was named Larry Jones and he had played at Ohio State,
go Bucks,
instead of Colorado, my gut tells me he'd be the no-brainer first pick in this draft. And I could be crazy, but we'll see what the future holds. Let's leave it there for now. We will get back to the conversation. Let's talk to Cleveland's own John Fanta is with us now. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to bring John in after a real quick word from FanDuel. Guys, you know March Madness is here. The first games tip off tonight, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. We got a winning submitted ticket on college hoops I've been saving for John Fanta. Our guy Darren out in Kansas City won a 10-part money line parlay that turned $25 into close to $250 on Saturday, picking the winners in the conference tournaments across the country. So if you have a winning ticket, send it in. We'll feature it on the show. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in our guy, Johnny Fanta. How you doing today, John?
Hi, guys. The madness is here. It's time to dance. And, man, that's an impressive parlay. This is going to be a heck of a 72 hours, fellas. It's great to be with you guys.
Yes.
John, Fanta, guess what? I'm going to just say one word, North Carolina, go!
Oh, boy. Man, oh, man. I'll tell you what, that is a ridiculous situation. You got the chair of the committee, not just a member of the committee. The damn chair of the committee is Bubba Cunningham, and the North Carolina Tar Heels had one quad one win. Now, so did Xavier, and they were included in the field. But Xavier, to me, had more to their non-conference with the strength of record, had wins over teams in the field. North Carolina had 2, one of which was against a 16 seed in American. Xavier beat Connecticut. They beat Marquette. They beat Creighton. They blew them out a week before their season ended. North Carolina didn't do anything of consequence for the benefit because all they did was beat UCLA on a neutral floor in December. So think about this, fellas. The North Carolina Tar Heels went the final 2.5 months of the season without beating a single team in the NCAA tournament. Remove the name brand, and they're not included. But because the selection committee chair could, and I don't buy that he wasn't included in the room when they were talking about them. You guys know this. What actual things get done during the formal meeting?
Right.
They get done during the steakhouse dinner at Delmonico's or behind closed doors in the bathroom. They get done, with the phone call when Bull calls Mikey McNuggets at 1 a.m. and says, I want this tomorrow morning. That's where
Oh, yeah. There you go.
That's true.
There you go. The fix is in.
John, you and I have been in touch all year as I've been, watching every moment of St. John's basketball. So the most heartbreaking moment of the year was when I saw you have them losing to Florida in the Elite Eight for a chance to get the Final Four. And I get it. Florida's probably playing better than anybody in the country right now. I don't love that Florida was listed as the fourth one because I believe St. John's is the number 1, 2. I was hoping they'd be in there with Auburn because Auburn's struggling and whatever. But that was heartbreaking. I was like, my man John is good. He's got to pick the Johnnies. He's loved the Johnnies all year. But he got them losing to Florida, unfortunately. Which I
do have them losing to Florida, but remember, Bull.
Yeah.
Nobody's bracket matters at noon on Thursday. I love giving out the picks. I love making the bracket, but at the end of the day, I'm going to end up looking at this thing on Thursday and going, it's going to get torn to shreds. That's just how this thing's going to go because that's how it always goes. I do think that Florida's playing as well as anybody, and I wish that St. John's wasn't stuck in the same region. But remember, you still got to get to the Elite Eight if you're Florida.
True.
You still got to get to the Elite Eight if you're St. John's. But to me, St. John's is as intriguing a story in sports right now. Here you have a 72-year-old in Rick Pitino with the old school mentality of I'm going to discipline my players. I'm going to be hard on my players. What he has been able to do in coming into this job, and his players say it's refreshing for them because he can do some things at the age of 72 that maybe a 43-year-old who was up and down and now not a proven winner can't do. They play a New York City style. They are up in you defensively. Bull, you know this. They play a throwback. That's their DNA. They guard you the moment you get off the bus. They are gritty. They rebound the heck on the ball. I am convinced that Rick Pitino could get hired by the Browns and coach them to a 12-win season.
He probably could.
He's that amazing of a motivator. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore college basketball, and I would put him in my top 10 coaches in sports history. Any sport. That's how good he is. He's won 884 games. He's taken 6 different schools to the NCAA tournament. He's won 5 conference tournament championships at 5 different schools. More than 5, but he's won conference tournament championships at 5 different schools. And he's made the Final Four with 3 different schools. He could win on Mars. He could give Bull and me to only lose by 20 in a 2-on-2 game.
John, I got him off because I can't, obviously in Cleveland, I'm not talking about St. John's very often, but you said something that I'm going to try. Ohio State's not in the tourney. We got Akron.
Boo.
And we'll root for Akron, but I'm going to try to get the fans to root for St. John's if they're playing anybody except Akron, because as you said, they play, if you love 80s, 90s basketball, especially 90s. If you like the way the Knicks played and the Heat play, all these tough physical, you want to see defense, you want to see ball going to the basket and dunks, you want to see teammates that love each other and play hard for each other, and as you said, defend from the moment they get off the bus till the moment the game ends. No better team than St. John's for that.
They outwill you. They shut you down offensively, and then eventually they start to score. They've got a wing named R.J. Lewis. He had 29 in the Big East Tournament final victory over Creighton, 27 of which came in the second half. They settle into a game at an elite level. It is a great story. And you look at the West, Florida's playing as well as anybody, as we said, with Walter Clayton, an All-American, an elite front court, Alex Condon, Thomas Hogg, Ruben Chinyalu. Texas Tech's gritty as well there, you saw. And Maryland's dangerous under Kevin Willard. He's done a very nice job there, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Florida is my national champion. They are the best team in the country for me. What Todd Golden has done with this program is he's found depth. They're top 10 in offense and defense. They limit what you do offensively so well. They did it against Tennessee, and they out-Tennesseed Tennessee. Rick Barnes typically is the coach that has rebounding and toughness and physicality. Florida out-rebounded Tennessee by 14 in the SEC championship game. But let me give a message to Cleveland right now. I want to tell everybody in Cleveland something here. Mikey, do you mind? Thank you, Michael.
I got you.
I want to tell Cleveland, you have the NCAA Tournament coming to your city here this week.
That's right.
That's 8 teams. This is a wonderful showcase of Cleveland, Ohio, in a town that showcases a bunch of great events. We've hosted so many big-time sporting events, big-time concerts, rock hall inductions, conventions, all of that. Cleveland, I know you're going to put on a show for the teams that are coming out here. And my first college basketball memory actually came in Cleveland, Ohio, when Wake Forest, led by Chris Paul, met Kevin Pittsnoggle, Mike Gansey in West Virginia in a double overtime game that Gansey, now the Cleveland Cavaliers general manager, played in and won. Somebody's got to ask him about that this week, because Mike was part of a legendary NCAA tournament game at the Wolstein Center, and all these people from Olmsted Falls came over to the game. What's my point? If you're a parent out there watching this show, if you're somebody that's giving thought to going to the tournament, I promise, go. It is a one-of-a-kind sporting event because the madness is real. In Cleveland alone, New Mexico's dangerous as a 10 seed. Marquette's got a stud in Cam Jones. You could watch Mark Sears in Alabama. I think St. Mary's Vanderbilt's one of the best games in the first round. And oh, by the way, Cleveland, Tom Izzo's in year 30. He's in year 30. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he'll be in Cleveland, Ohio ever again as a head coach. It's a chance to watch him perform greatness. He's done an unbelievable job at Michigan State. The tournament is awesome, and if you're in the area, find a way down there.
You talk about madness, John. Let's talk about the Akron Zips. I mean, they got Arizona in this first round. How can they get it done? Can they get it done? Does Akron have the talent? I know for the past couple of years, they've been really pushing it, trying to get on. Oh, man, hold on. What you got?
Got it?
I've got the Zips. I've got the Zips winning this game. And I'm going to tell you why. I think they play a top 20 tempo in the country. So there's nothing easy having to go up against them, as the B-roll package shows. This team gets up and down and will not be fazed by Caleb Love and Arizona's backcourt. That's the key to the game to facing Arizona. You can't get overwhelmed when their explosive guard talent starts to take off. Akron doesn't get fazed by that. Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley won't rattle them. Nate Johnson, Tavari Johnson, averaging a combined 27 points per game. Tavari shooting close to 40% from three. Kid is a stud. And Isaiah Gray is a really good complimentary guard as well. They don't rely the key to an upset, you got to knock down some perimeter shots. You can't over-rely on one player. Akron doesn't. They're very balanced. They average over 80 points per game. If they can box out the Arizona big man Tobe Awaka enough to hang in, then I believe John Gross has a team that can capture the upset victory. Arizona has struggled mightily in the NCAA tournament in recent years, underperforming. I don't think Akron's going to have to battle some crowd out west where they're going to get rattled by the Arizona crowd. I don't think that that's going to happen at all. I think that this is a game that the Zips can win. I think John Gross is one of the best mid-major coaches in the country. And the Akron Zips, because of the amount of problems they can cause for an opposing defense, they can really score the ball effectively. They have Cinderella's slipper in hand, and I think Akron gets it done.
Let me ask you a question. We talk about Cinderellas and the slippers and all that good stuff. Hey, give me some names of some individuals that could be the C.J. McCollums, the Steph Currys, the guy that come, the Antonio Gates, the guys that come out of nowhere and become a household name by the Big Eight or the last 8 teams.
Elite Eight.
Elite Eight, whatever they call it.
I got you, G. Bush. Here you go. Here's your name. It's a tough name. Don't say it 3 times in a row.
Okay.
Aniwaniwa Tate Jones.
Nope.
Of the UC San Diego Tritons. He's a D2 transfer, went to school in Hawaii. Now he's of UC San Diego, who has 30 wins. They're just in year 5 in Division I. Wow. Doesn't this say March Madness magic? Relatively new to D1, not a big known nationally. Aniwaniwa Tate Jones is a kid who can make a huge mark on this tournament. He's averaging 20 points per game, around 5 or 6 assists per game. I think that he could be a guy that when it's all said and done, we're talking about. How about John Poulakidis of Yale? Another kid averaging 20 a game, absolute bucket. Yale knocked off Auburn in the tournament last year. I believe they will knock off Texas A&M this year in the first round. I've got them pulling off the upset. I like the Bulldogs. There are a number of others. John Tonje at Wisconsin could have a Steph Curry-like tournament. He is coming off of a rough performance against Michigan in the Big Ten championship game, but I really like Tonje. Tomorrow night, for you Ohio folks, Xavier is in the first 4 down at Dayton. Xavier and Dayton, they used to be bitter rivals. They still are. They don't play anymore. But Xavier has a guard named Ryan Conwell. He's got some 2 Holloway to him. The Xavier fans out there can appreciate that. They're going to meet Texas tomorrow night. That's a big game. If you're an Ohio college basketball fan, tomorrow night your madness already begins. There's a slew of them, guys. I think Donovan Dent in New Mexico versus Cam Jones in Cleveland. Cam Jones of Marquette. That's one of the best guard matchups in all the country, and Cleveland, Ohio will be hosting that game.
You know what? I'm going to pass this to Tyvis. That was actually supposed to be a gag joke. I did not know you knew all 3,500 Division I schools.
The man lives, eats, and breathes college basketball.
What I don't understand,
that's
John,
wild.
is that you know all of this stuff, but you don't understand that a filet is better than a ribeye. That's amazing.
A filet is not better than a ribeye. You out of your mind?
Hey,
I'm
talking to John.
That is
I'm talking to
patently
John.
wrong.
As the
Two things
Go ahead.
here.
Go ahead, John.
Number 1, living in New Jersey ain't cheap, as evidenced by these W9s.
He didn't pull the W9s.
Right there. And number 2, Tyvis, a filet might be better, but for this subject matter, it's a ribeye, buddy.
Now listen, John,
He know it.
John, myself, and G. Bush are big guys. Tyvis, you are skinny. Nobody's trusting your taste in steak over me, G, and John.
What do you mean?
We know steak better than you. You're too skinny to know good steak.
That's preposterous. Just because I'm skinny, I don't know steak.
Eating all them chicken
Only
steaks.
skinny people like filet. Who likes filet? You. Jay.
Mike
skinny people.
Look, ribeye all day.
At least Mike's one skinny person that knows how to eat like a fat guy. I mean,
Tyvis, you know what it is? Tyvis, if you and Jay called and asked me out to dinner, and then Bull and G. Bush called and asked me out to dinner, I'm calling Jay back and saying, Jay, I'd love to hear your story again about the return of LeBron, but I'm going to dinner with Adam and G.
He knows where it's at. The man is smart. He
even knows the story. He
know,
tell.
Jay, I'd love to sit and talk with you about Baker again, but I'm going to get myself a ribeye, buddy.
One of them aged boys.
We'll go to Peter Luger's, you know.
And we're not stopping with the ribeye. We're grabbing some potatoes au gratin and some cream cheese.
All the fixings.
That's right.
And you live you live in New York. Them steaks don't come with sides. Them sides is not included. Bread costs.
G-Bush, you don't even get to go to the restroom without having to pay over here.
Right.
They charge you to use the facilities out this way.
John, we got to wrap it up with the most important question. The Cavaliers have lost just 11 basketball games. They have, 14 left or 15, Mike?
15 left.
15 left. The Cleveland Browns have lost 14 games this year. Will the Cavs become just the second NBA team ever to lose less games than their football counterpart in the same year?
Why not? I'm going to say yes. I'll vote yes because the subject matter speaks for itself. It's an amazing season and ride. Kenny Atkinson has been the best coach in the National Basketball Association. I know that they lost to Orlando over the weekend. Maybe they drop one more than the Browns, maybe because of the end of the year and getting some guys some rest. But I don't know. This team is wired differently, guys. The acquisition of DeAndre Hunter was huge. I love the way Darius Garland's grown as a player. I just think the Cavs embody everything that's right about how you run an organization. They do it the right way. They treat their fans the right way. And you know what? Cleveland, buckle up here. I'm going to tell you guys right now, out here in the New York area, these people are very concerned about the Cavs in the East and their ability to win the East. Even Celtic fans, for the first time, Boston Celtic fans have been saying to me, yeah, I am definitely concerned. After that Cavs comeback in Boston a couple weeks ago where they fell behind by 20 in the early moments of the game and showed their toughness, all I'm saying is this. Buckle in, because the dream of a parade is all real. This team can do it, and I think we're in for a heck of a spring.
All right, before you go, real quickly, who's the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns week 1? That was cool.
Yeah.
He was like, man.
Wow.
Put him on the spot.
Wow. I am going to go. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders.
Man, so the Shedeur Sanders train is rolling through reluctantly.
System quarterback. I know he doesn't. A lot of people love Cam Ward the most because of the improvisational, and I don't disagree with that love, right? And I think that Cam can throw a ball that's special. But Shedeur did not have an offensive line at all, right? And he still found ways to make it look the right way offensively. And I think that Kevin Stefanski is enamored by the idea that he can execute in a system and with some composure, with some construction around him. I think this kid delivers a great ball. He's definitely not as creative as Ward, and he's more of a pocket presence, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have the skill set to have success in the NFL. And, you know, a couple weeks ago, I went on another show talking about this topic, and I'm sure I love coming on your guys' show. I'm sure we'll talk again sometime soon. But, like, the one thing I'm going to say about Sanders is, like, when people say upside, and I've heard draft analysts be like, yes, Sanders is probably more ready than Ward. Well, if he's more ready, what happens when upside never occurs? What happens in Chicago this year if Caleb Williams comes out and we keep talking about upside and we're not seeing it fully turn the corner? So before we always talk about upside, I'm 29. I've been hearing about upside for 27 years. And it hasn't gotten us to a whole lot of places. It's been a lot of concepts and maybes and what ifs and Mike Holmgren and Tom Heckert and, you know, all those press conferences through the years of, well, you know, we're going to reevaluate and that's a bunch of crap. You pick on results and you go and get your guy. And if it's Ward, I'll be happy. If it's Sanders, I'll be happy. I just want my quarterback. I think the position's too valuable to not take it there. Because if you don't have that question answered, then what does it matter?
Speaking of upside, John Fanta reaching his upside every day, unlike a lot of the quarterbacks. The reason John Fanta is so great, it's the 3 Ps. This is true. The 3 Ps, when it comes to play-by-play guys, there's 3 Ps. And not many broadcasters have all 3 Ps. John does. Personality, professionalism, passion. There's some guys that have only 1, some guys that have 2. There's a lot of good play-by-play guys out there, but there's not many that have all 3. He loves the sport, college basketball. I don't know anybody that loves it more than him. He's a total pro, and yet he's not stiff because he's got a great personality. Whoever you work with, you seem to have great chemistry with everybody. And then the extra bonus is that he's from here, so we love him even more because he makes the people of Northeast Ohio proud because he's one of us. And John, I'm not just saying that because you're here. It's totally true. You know I love watching. Whenever there's a St. John's game, I text John. I'm like, "Are you doing the game?" And if he's not, I'm disappointed. Even if it's Gus Johnson or Rafferty who are great, but I want to hear John do the St. John's games because I love hearing him call games. Continued best of luck. You're the best, John.
That really means a lot, Bull. I grew up listening to you.
I'm old.
And I still watch your show. And no, you know what? It's the truth. I mean, I called into your show as a fan back in the day. I mean, if as a regular person, working during the summers, I got to tell you guys, I am so proud to be from Cleveland, Ohio, to grow up on the west side. And I think I think the town has this characteristic. When you grow up the way that Clevelanders are raised, blue-collar city, right? Unbelievable voices. Rest in peace, Jimmy Donovan. Tom Hamilton. I'm going to tell you guys quickly, Tom Hamilton calls me a couple of times a year now just to say hello.
That's awesome.
That's the voice of the Guardians.
Yeah.
And he's all class. All class. And if I could have dinner with anybody, I would sit down and have dinner with Joe Tate because I'd love to hear his stories of the Cavs back in the day, the late, great Joe Tate, wham with the right hand. And I think for me and I think for a lot of people in our town, you want to do your parents, your family, and your city proud because everybody always says to me over here in New Jersey when I take them back to Cleveland, they're like, everybody's so kind. I say, well, that's the character of our town. I'm proud. I am so proud to be from Cleveland, Ohio. And that's why I love joining this show. And anytime we get to talk, because that thing's never going to leave my heart. That's Cleveland. That's our city. That's who we are.
John, we love you, buddy. We got to have that meal. We got to go out for that meal sometime.
We gonna get a strip. Can we compromise on a strip steak?
No. We don't do New York strips.
Tyvis, I'll compromise on a strip steak if Jay pulls out that ESPN black card that I know he still has and he pays for it.
I'm with you on that.
He'll do it. We'll get you on that. John, we'll talk to you later, buddy. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Love you guys. Thank you very much.
The great
John's
John
the
Fanta.
best. If you don't follow him online,
He's
follow him on Twitter.
So
Great social media follow. Great on the calls, and we love having John on. John not only has to come to Cleveland have a meal with us, he has to come in studio.
Yeah, that'd be
the day
awesome.
John Fanta joins us in studio.
Maybe
the
summer.
day we get kicked
Maybe
off
summer
the air.
he
But
spend a whole day with us in the studio.
We would love that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to talk a little Cavs. Haven't talked enough Cavs today. After a quick word from Living for We. What happens when a regular day at school turns into the worst day of your life? Unfortunately, that's the reality that happens way too frequently in today's world. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America. Ending communities of color, that impact is even greater. Every bullet fired creates 2 new victims, the person in front of the gun and the one pulling the trigger. Living for We, Keep Your Head Up podcast is an award-winning show that focuses on real stories, real struggles, and real solutions in Northeast Ohio. New episodes drop every other Tuesday. The next one is next Tuesday, 1 week from today, where you'll hear from host Marlene Harris-Taylor and her new co-host, Maisha Watkins, the executive director of the Cleveland Peacemakers. No one does a better job of bringing you stories from the front lines, victims, survivors, and those fighting for change. Each episode, they sit down with a different organization that's working to end gun violence and provide resources for those affected by gun violence. Whatever kind of help you need, there's a person for you to contact. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcasts or watch the video version on IdeaStream's YouTube channel. You can learn more at ideastream.com/podcast/livingforwe. Subscribe today to Living for We on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, guys, this came out yesterday. We'll preview the Cavs-Clippers game at the end of the show. But
Yeah.
Ty Jerome has become a folk hero in the city of Cleveland. Earl the Pearl started the Ty Jerome hype train.
He did.
And he got a technical in their loss on Sunday for trash talking with Paolo Banchero. And I cut out some of the words because
You can get a technical for trash talking? I didn't
you
even
get
didn't know
technical
that.
for anything.
That's
That's
corny.
ridiculous.
I didn't know. I thought it
discretionary.
was straight at the coach. I mean, at the ref. If you like said
No,
something to the
no,
ref.
he got a technical for excessive. And Banchero got teched as well for their back and
They
forth.
was-
So
That's
I,
stupid.
They were going
I
at
cut
it.
out some of the words that are not allowed to be on YouTube. So the audio's a little iffy,
Yeah.
but Steve's going to drop the super. You can read
Okay.
what was said back and forth. And then I want to have the discussion real quick on whether or not Ty Jerome has the right to talk smack to any player in the league based on his play this season. And is it good to have a guy on the bench with irrational confidence like Ty? This is the clip. I'll start on your team as an all-time line there from Ty Jerome. Tyvis, I see you dying as that video is playing.
That's funny.
I didn't know he was like that. Everybody talking about Ty Jerome being like this quiet guy. He don't really say much, but it's so funny to see him. Wait,
Banchero was going at
that's
him.
what I said. Why Paulo even going at him like that? Like,
Ty talks more shit than anyone on the Cavs.
That's awesome.
And he's open about it. He does. That's part of his
fine.
game. Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get,
Yeah, as long
as
as
long
they
as you don't
physical-
mention family and
Yeah,
stuff like
no.
that, then whatever.
And by the way, listen, here's how you know you really are black. Some of those words he was saying, I said, oh.
I thought Banchero called him that.
Oh,
word.
you got the pass. Okay.
No, he did not say that. For the
He didn't
record.
say that
He did
word.
not say that.
That was
Banchero
Banchero.
said it.
That was all Banchero. Now, Ty is mixed.
He's a quarter black.
Ty is mixed.
So
he can say
if
the word.
he wanted to get it off,
He can say the word.
he can bring
Dad?
he can
Got a
bring
quarter?
he can bring
Say the word.
he can bring the permission slip to
I
work.
defer to you guys.
Birth certificate.
He can say
Bull
the
and I
word.
have no say in what the line is. We know where to stay
got
far,
it.
far
He
away.
got
He
it.
can say, wait, who's the mix with his dad?
Is it his dad or his
Why,
I'll
why does that
confirm. I
matter?
believe Ty. Hold on
big
one second.
difference.
I'll get official confirmation.
Hartenstein said he could say it.
He can.
Yeah.
At least Ty Jerome.
Ty's
has a-
father is mixed. 50-50.
Okay. You're good.
Yeah.
So if it was his mother that was mixed, he couldn't.
We question it. We all depends on how bad we
It's
want
just
it
how
to
it
get.
is. I don't know why that's a thing.
I
but
don't
that
know
is
why.
how it is.
In Judaism, it's the opposite. Your religion, you're like, if your mom was Jewish, you're Jewish, and if your dad was, but your mom isn't, you're not, unless you want to be
Man,
specifically.
that's so wild. Who would have known why that word carries so much?
I don't know,
But
but
for the record, Ty Jerome did not use the word in this case.
Just to be clear, just in case like, we didn't want the NBA. Yeah, that was Banchero.
Banchero.
Now Banchero, hold on.
Wait a second.
Let's can we figure out where
he's got
Banchero?
what is he, black?
I'm on his
kid?
23andMe right now. Stand
Okay,
by.
there you go. Give me that ancestry.com.
Isn't he Latin?
He gotta be black, you lad, right?
Hey, listen now.
His
Listen.
father's Italian. His mother's black.
Okay.
Well, his mother's black.
Okay. I mean, he comes.
I thought he was Latin. He's not either.
Even if he is, he comes in under the J-Lo rule. J-Lo and Fat
He's
Joe.
not black at all.
J-Lo and Fat Joe apparently in the Bronx and in Queens and New York, they get that off.
So if you're Latino,
They,
the word is
They be
okay.
letting it's some Puerto Ricans and people I know that they let it slide.
Some people
They let
say,
it slide.
when we were, the African trade, they stopped in South America and North America.
So-
Evidently, we kind of like family members, I guess.
I don't know that. I didn't know that rule.
Some get it off, some don't.
I was watching some video. I don't know what. Real quick, 30 seconds.
This is wild.
And this video was like, if you took everybody in the world and based on the percentage of white people, black people, Latin people, Asian people, made every person in the world the combination of those things based on those percentages. And so everybody looked
They come out
the same.
black.
No. Most the country that most people would be most resemble was either Puerto Rico or Venezuela.
That's wild.
That is wild.
Most people would look kind of Latino.
That's wild, man.
If you mix all the races in the percentage that they exist
I got
in the world.
I got not a stepbrother. I got a brother-in-law who's mixed. He's white and black, but he looks like Hispanic.
Yeah.
You know, the great thing about this is, if you got a show or a radio show in Cleveland, you're not better than that because you can't talk about this.
No.
You can't even get this off. Like you'd have to have a meeting tomorrow. Like they might cut you off and be like, hold on.
Yeah. I will say this about Ty Jerome.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he talks like that.
Yeah.
And I do think every team in the NBA, you need kind of that wild card.
He's not backing down.
The irrational confidence guy. That's what's led to Ty having some incredible games, those league pass moments we've talked about.
Yeah.
Is when he's on the court. Ty Jerome believes he's the best player out of the 10 on the court, regardless of who he's on the court with. And 99% of the time this season, he's had like literally one or two games where it's like, okay, Ty, stop shooting. Other than that, he's been incredible. And I have no issue with him doing this whatsoever.
How many points did he finish with in this game?
I think he had 12 or 14.
Dude, much crazier than that. There's some undrafted white dude who talked trash to LeBron, either this year or last. I can't think of what the guy's name is.
Dylan Brooks.
Who?
Dylan Brooks did.
He's not white or.
I know, but
no, it wasn't Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks talks trash to everybody, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Jerome had 12 in the game, by the way.
I can't remember who the dude is. He was undrafted, and like now he's become like a legit back end of the roster NBA
Do you know
player.
what team?
I can't remember, but there's another
Patrick
video.
Beverly?
No, white dude.
He's white.
Oh, okay.
This random white dude who was undrafted. He was talking trash to LeBron about flopping or I don't know what it was.
This was last year?
It was either last year or this year. I'm not 100% sure, but I was like, that's the ultimate step up trash talk.
Yeah, this dude might not exist.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little trash
I'm trying to
talk.
figure out what white dude will be talking to LeBron. Like,
yeah, I'm looking for this. I don't see it.
I'll have to find it later.
We'll preview the Cavs road trip one trip, but we'll go around the horn real quick.
Yeah.
Fan of Ty Jerome continuing to
absolutely
run his mouth like that in a good way.
Yes.
Double thumbs up.
Because what trash talking does for an athlete is once you start, you better be locked in. It ain't no I'm about to talk crazy and then have a bad game.
Yeah.
Like that ain't, you can't do that. If you start, you better make sure you getting buckets on dude. Like that's what it has to be.
Hey,
especially when he chirping back like that. Like now I'm more motivated. Like I got to score.
Now I'm a little older. I come from the older generation of trash talk where like it's fair game to talk about people's mothers.
I don't like that.
We talk about wives. You can't talk about kids.
KG said told Carmelo that Lala tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios.
That was wild.
That's a good line, though.
That was wild. They had to fight.
Line.
You either have to have a duel or a sword fight or something.
Oh my!
Like you gotta walk 10 paces and turn around.
That was a crazy.
That was wild.
By the way, Carmelo, did you guys talk about this? The Carmelo show. He was talking about how the Cavs get disrespected and.
No, I saw it, and I forgot to actually look into it.
Yeah, Carmelo was like going on and on about how he thinks the Cavs are awesome and they're getting disrespected. Go ahead.
Speaking of the Cavs, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Jason and I will be doing another early morning Cavs and Coffee episode. We'll react to tonight's game against the Clippers.
Yeah.
We have an interesting discussion. We've been going back and forth the last couple of days on who's the most important Cav to the team's success in the playoffs, which individual player means the most to Cleveland. We'll dive into that, and then we're going to have some fun. If you put a Cavs player on Akron, could they win the NCAA championship this season? We're going to run through the list.
Weren't they talking about that on Barstool?
They
do it every year, but we did it on the show too. We talked to Isaac Okoro lead college basketball and scoring, but we're going to go through each player.
If you put Donovan Mitchell on the 16 seed.
On Akron. We're using
Akron.
Specifically
Akron.
On Akron,
okay.
So we're going to do that tomorrow, 8 a.m. Make sure you tune in to that. Guys, real quick, they do play tonight. The Cavs start a 5-game road trip.
I thought we were going to the...
We're going to do that at the end. We're going to go Cavs back-to-back here. But they play a 5-game road trip. They start tonight against the Clippers in Sacramento. That's 19th is Wednesday, so they play Clippers tonight, tomorrow Sacramento, and they got Phoenix, Utah, and Portland. Cavs lost on Sunday. They are, this is going to sound crazy, they're 16-1 in their last 17. No need to freak out. but they haven't been playing their best basketball of late. What do you want to see tonight and over this course of the road trip to make you feel a little more confident the Cavs are going to be peaking at the right time for the playoffs?
Hunter in the starting lineup.
Man.
Listen, that's what I want to see.
You done with Strus?
I didn't say I was done with him. I think he's perfectly fine off this bench. But let me tell you, I need y'all to stop saying this. Y'all basketball savants. You guys, y'all love basketball. The Cavs, their weakness is teams that are big front lines. They give the Cavs trouble. Well, why not just take that trouble out the lineup and stop playing around? You keep doing that. And Bankero and the Wagners, and you see what the Celtics are bringing, and you got the same thing with the Knicks. So, no. Well, in that case, start your best people.
Let me ask you something about that. You ever thought that they don't want to play, they don't want to show their hand?
I want to see. Listen, that may be a
maybe
thing.
Maybe they want to save it for the play. My fault. I apologize, Steve. Let me sit right.
That may be a thing.
But yeah, maybe they don't want to show their hand. Like maybe in the playoffs, they like, oh, we absolutely gonna have Hunter in the start, but we don't want them to game.
Good teams. Mariano Rivera only got one pitch. When it's that good.
Oh my goodness.
Guess what? When you're good, you don't care about showing nobody nothing. You gotta come in here and beat that.
Guys, I gotta say, I don't like that we have 14 more games. I want this regular season over with.
What?
We butchered this question.
I don't give a rat's ass about any of these games. I don't give a rat's ass about Mike's.
What about them breaking the record? They can break the franchise
I don't care
record.
about breaking the record. I don't like we got a nagging Donovan Mitchell injury. We got a nagging Evan Mobley situation. The Cavs have been healthy all year. I can't have this. They're playing 5 games against Slappies in the next 7 days. It's too many games in 2 little days. We need Kenny Atkinson to not F around and find out that guys are going to – I can't have this. I don't want to do this road trip. I don't like it. They got, what, 3 days off this whole trip. This is unacceptable. I need the regular season to be over. The league is too long a season.
Super
Wait a minute.
66 games. Goodbye.
The Cavs have 10. They got 10 guys that they rotate through. So like
rotate 15 guys. I don't want Donovan Mitchell playing more than 20 minutes the rest of the season.
What?
Come on now,
That's
Mike.
absurd.
I can't have this.
He's coming
Mike's
back
gotta,
from injury.
Mike's got to get us fake excited for these games. I don't care. Get me to the playoffs.
He did kind of warm us up a little bit.
My God.
Listen, it's not the most exciting road trip.
Let me answer the question.
It's not. But Tyvis, thank you.
These two don't want to answer the question. Well, I guess G did answer it. How can Cleveland get back on track? To me,
back on track. They won 16 in a row.
I didn't say back on track. I said, how do they start making sure they're peaking at the right time?
No, he meant to say, how did they keep your interest the last 16
Yeah, right.
games?
Yeah.
Is Evan Mobley back in the lineup, or is he out for a specific
He's a
reason?
game-time decision tonight.
So to me, I think that I just want to get them back in, get people healthy, get them, in these last 14 games. Maybe you don't play them a ton together, but you want them to continue to build that chemistry. And then I think when you get towards the end, you're still trying to figure out exactly when you get in the playoff who's going to be that 8th guy, if you're going to play 8 and all those things. I know Sam Merrill's been playing really well. Isaac Okoro's coming off the bench, and I think he had like 7 points the last game. So, you just continue to fine-tune those guys. But for the starters, I want to see Darius continue to climb because I don't think Darius had a 20-point – how many points he had last game? He ain't had 20, did he?
Against the Magic, Darius had
19. I knew it.
19.
I took him on the under. It was 19 and a half. I took him on the under, so that's how I knew that.
Okay.
But I want to see Darius. I'm still waiting on one of these games for Darius to take off. I feel like he's been very reserved in these last couple of games. The assist is great. Not last game because he only had like 4 of them. Game before that, I think he had 10 assists. So that's great, but Darius, I do want to see you be an offense weapon. And don't get me wrong, you was cooking in the match. You was hitting the floaters, hitting the middies and all those things. I just want to continue. I want you to have one of them big offensive performing games just to close the season out, just to let people know, like, hey, listen, I'm just being reserved, but I will go off if you bother me. If I'm disturbed, I will go off. I need to have that confidence in you. That's probably one of the things that I'm looking for in these 14 games, just for Darius to have like a 25-point game.
Stop turning the ball over, too. All that carelessness in the front court, bro. All that looseness, bro. Get the ball up the court, bro. I sound like an old coach, but I'm tired of seeing the ball get poked away and little stuff. And move the ball, too.
Weeks.
Move the ball. Pass, swing. The ball been sticking a little bit too much. I've seen a little too much ISO for my likings, Big Nuggets.
All right, we'll leave the Cavs there.
Well, you got one last topic today.
And we got to, okay, back to the Browns. Go ahead.
Back to the Browns. We will react to the Cavs tomorrow morning. Do not worry. We got a Cavs and Coffee show coming for you. But as we wrap up today's show, a quick reminder that Upwork is a brand new sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com, UPWORK.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
So the question is, with what the Bengals did yesterday, should that change the game plan of the Browns? Is that the question?
Correct.
Discourage.
Okay, so
I'm showing him all of it's a tweet out of Abdul Carter's or felonies or not, or his not his felonies, but what is this?
I never saw some of this.
What is this? What would this be called? His
running
with the law.
All right. So the question is, should what the Bengals did with Higgins and Chase affect what the Browns do? The answer is no. I mean, what can they do now? Like, what can they change now because of what the Bengals did? It's not like they can go sign some big wide receiver right now. The Browns got to build it first with a quarterback. They can't work. Yes, you'd ideally like to have two really great receivers, but right now you got to, hopefully the goal is to get a quarterback, and hopefully they will. But let me just say this real quick. I can't believe. So I used to watch a lot of like the talk shows on ESPN and Fox and some of that stuff. And I stopped watching them because I was sick of them talking about the same old subjects as everybody complains about. But I'm like, yesterday was obviously the big news with Chase and Higgins for the Bengals, and then St. John's making the tournament. So I'm like, I'm going to watch some of these shows, see what these people say. I saw some of the dumbest takes. First of all, this one woman, I don't know who the hell she was, calling St. John's the Indiana of college basketball, which was just a horrible take. Now, if they lose in the first or second round, maybe I'll apologize to her. That's a horrible take. Her reasoning for it was so dumb. Jason McIntyre, who's on the Colin Cowherd show, is so bad. I can't believe anybody watches that show. He talks more out of his ass than anybody. He doesn't really follow sports as closely as you can tell. A lot of little mistakes that he makes. And Jason McIntyre was the sidekick on that show. That guy's an idiot. He said some of the dumbest things about the back. First of all, I keep hearing, well, it won't help their defense. It won't. The Bengals have been getting crushed, deservedly so, for not spending money. Mm-hmm. They go and spend money on two proven, Jamar Chase, arguably the best receiver in football, T. Higgins, a top 20 receiver in football. Mm-hmm. They spent big money. If the Browns had, I'm not saying Browns people were doing this, but if the Browns had done what the Bengals did, if they had those players do, we'd all be thrilled. Would any of us rip them even if their defense wasn't good?
No.
I understand they need to sign Trey Hendrickson, but at this point, they signed these guys. They have more cap space. I think they will. And remember, Hendrickson's 30.
It's the good old bait and switch.
So we'll see. This idea that you're now going to kill the Bengals for bad defense, they didn't make the playoffs last year. Okay, that's fair to some degree. First of all, the Bengals had the worst defense in the league. They still won 9 games, and they lost 2 on last-second missed field goals. Missed field goals that Evan McPherson normally makes. Could have easily won 11. And you want to say, well, these things happen. You're right, and that's fine. But defenses ebb and flow from year to year. We see it with every team. I'm not saying the Bengals defense is going to be good next year. It won't be. But I don't expect it to be the worst in the league. If you watch the Bengals at the end of the year, their defense got, I'm not going to say to mediocre, but they got to below average, serviceable. The Bengals can get deep into the playoffs with a serviceable defense because of their offense. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm saying they're a legit contender for the Super Bowl if they do nothing else on defense. Unless I get the odds of them not making the playoffs again the way they did last year is so slim.
So does it impact what the Browns do, though?
So here's
but I said no. I don't think ultimately it does. I just wanted to get that off. Because I'm sick of that. Because it's like we say, if people will criticize the Browns for something that if the Steelers or Ravens did, they wouldn't criticize it. It's the same thing here. That's all.
Here's how I would move with it. I would project stockpile the thing. If I was just there, I know
the Browns or the Bengals.
No. The project stockpile is always waiting in the wings. It's a file that's always started up on the computer.
With what money?
Hey, hold on. Here's how you do this, man. Let me cook. Where's my apron at? Now listen. If I got, I know I ain't got no money. So what I'm going to do, remember back in the day you used to go to the store and you didn't have no cash on you, so you used to overwrite a check.
Oh, yeah.
Overwriting checks was the – you're like, give me some of that money back.
Now they're able to find out.
Right, now they right. So now that's like –
you wrote bad checks that
No, they see it's a different thing. You're too young. You don't understand overwriting checks. Now here's the thing. I'm overwriting the checks when it comes to the draft because I ain't got no money. I can't get no free agents. I can't get no top prize quarterbacks. But what I can do is I can use some of this draft capital. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my quarterback somewhere at 2. And then I'm going to get extra greedy. I got 3s. I got 4s. I got next year draft picks. What I'm going to go do, I don't know. Hey, Jeremiah Smith still not available out of the college ranks. I don't know what receivers is out there. Hey, can I trade up? I want both of them. I want Shedeur and I want Travis Hunter. I got picks this year.
If the Browns can find a way to pull that off.
I got picks. Hold on now. I got picks this year, and I got picks next year.
So that's called mortgaging your future.
Hey, forget. Listen, I don't got a future if I'm Kevin Stefanski and it don't work. So let's get it popping.
Well, I don't know if you're mortgaging your future if you're getting a rookie.
You're getting a rookie. So you tell me if I can get back in the first round after I done got my quarterback. I can come back. You can get Travis Hunter.
You can get a receiver in the second round.
I want Travis Hunter. I want 2 people.
You could get it's this great receiver by the name of Mecca Egbuka, who's
can he play corner? No, he can't play corner.
Wait a minute, you gave up on Martin?
What, Emerson?
Yeah,
he's a safety. I moved into the outside linebacker 2 weeks ago.
He had one bad year.
He runs an 84.
Remember,
wait a minute. He got one bad season and you done?
Andrew Berry did say he looked at him as an offensive player.
He's an offensive player. And McNuggets, this is a perfect thing. People think I'm playing around.
He said the corner part.
They think I'm playing around. How does this affect you? If I'm looking around and I say, okay, I got to have a quarterback. I know I don't got no money. I can't get a free agent next year because I'm still going to be strapped with money. I don't know what the top receivers is looking like next year. Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith ain't coming out. I need a receiver. I'm mortgaging all of that. Give me, you want to pick next year? I got to pick next year. I got to pick this year at 33. I'm gonna get a corner. I'm gonna get a returner. I'm gonna get a wide receiver. I got my quarterback. I'm gonna bring Nick Chubb back, and you still got 4, 5, 6, 10 picks later on.
You'd have to get. How high would you have to get up? I mean,
I want top 5 get up.
Right, but let's say
you know how much that costs?
Let's say Lloyd and Sanders go 1 and 2. The Giants might take Hunter. No,
they might.
But this is what I don't understand. Hold on, this is the part I don't understand.
Hunter won't get past 4 for the record.
This is where I want to go.
Hold on, wait.
Patriots are 4.
Wait a minute. Help me understand.
Yeah,
this.
he can get past.
So if you are, let's say you are the Patriots, right? Let's say the Giants take a quarterback. So you're gonna take a quarterback at 2. You take a Shedeur at 2.
Yeah.
Let's say that the Giants take Jackson Dart at 3,
or what's his name?
Whoever.
Shook.
The
4. So we have 4.
They'll take Carter.
We have 4 with New England. Now I need you to be New England in this situation,
right?
And I'm the Browns.
Yep.
I'm gonna offer you the first pick next year
and 33
and 33 this year.
Yep.
But to move
it's gonna
up
be more
to
than
4,
that.
You'd have to give up.
You would say yes.
No, I want more. If I was the Patriots, I want more.
Okay, how much more?
I want a third in this round too. I'm gonna third.
So you want the 33rd pick, the first round, my first round pick next year, and our third round pick this year.
Yes.
You think that's enough
still more.
to move up to 4?
It's probably still more. You probably got to give even more.
Because I don't have a pick now until 33.
Okay. Well, here's what
in this year's draft.
But you want another one?
And we need a wide receiver because we got the answer at quarterback.
So you want another one? You want another pick?
No, I just want Travis Hunter because I think we got the quarterback answered already.
But I'm selling. But here's the thing.
I'm not gonna hear that because what you just said. No. Because what you just said. You just said we gotta wait for Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, and we don't know nothing about the rest of these wide receivers. If I need a wide receiver, why would I trade my? If I can get, I want the best one in the draft.
Oh, so you want? That's what you want.
I want the best one in the draft.
That's what you gonna do.
I would take Travis Hunter at 4.
There's
no way that I'm trading.
They're not trading down from 4 to 3.
There's no way.
Hey, listen, he asked me what I would do.
There's no way.
We'd all love for that to happen. But all right, let's go to Super Chats.
We got some good Super Chats today, a lot of them, so we appreciate everyone who sent them in. First one comes from Evan419, who says, Bull has more shows interrupted by throwing up than Thornhill had interceptions in Cleveland. We know you're watching Thornhill.
That's wild. That's true.
He had no interceptions in 2 years?
He had the preseason one, pick 6 in the preseason.
That doesn't count. What do you mean he had the preseason one?
It was against the Chiefs.
That's like me saying I threw up during the practice week we did here.
Yeah, right?
That didn't count.
Then technically, Evan's right. You ended more shows by throwing up than Thornhill had picks. Salvatore the 216 says, Bull, as a born and raised here for 31 years, with all 3 of our teams tattooed on my arm, screw Thornhill, you're a Clevelander, we got your back.
Thank you, brother.
Curtis Reeser says, Jackson Dart will fit Kevin's system nicely. Good arm, reads, keeps plays alive. Tough, I think he's built for the AFC North. The last time I said Dart, the panel laughed, but I'm going to keep saying it. Much love, guys. And screw Thornhill.
I don't hate Jackson Dart.
I don't hate Jackson Dart either, but I don't. Would you take him with the number 2 pick? That's the question. Because if you take a Jackson Dart, then trade now and get more picks.
Well, listen, if you go take Jackson Dart, I still can get Travis Hunter. See, here's the thing: if you want, you can technically get Travis Hunter and pretty much any other quarterback that you want besides Shedeur and Cam Ward.
Probably.
Unless Jackson Dart go to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That ain't bad.
But you can move up from 33 to 20.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that was my whole point.
After talking to Ross, I could be talked into a Travis Hunter, Jalen Milroe combo.
I could be talked into that. I could be talked into Travis Hunter and a lot of quarterbacks.
I cannot.
I could be talked into Hunter and other options.
I take
the
Tyler.
Milroe thing.
I take Tyler Shaw.
Schluff?
Yeah, I take him.
Sluffer,
a.k.a. Brandon Whedon?
Yeah, I take him.
How
the Jalen Milroe thing, listen, Jalen Milroe would be fun. Like, it would be fun to see a quarterback just take off like that. Yeah. It'd be fun, but like you talking Super Bowl? Like,
you know what's crazy about Milroe real quick?
Why couldn't he be Jalen Hurts?
Well, what's crazy about Milroe?
Because he can't, from standing from where I'm at to where you at, you can't hit me.
Well, that's Jalen Hurts.
But if I go all the way out that parking lot and tell you to throw it deep, he can do that.
Can that be improved?
We have Todd McShay on tomorrow. McShay did a big breakdown on Milroe last week. He said he throws the best deep ball in the class.
Yeah.
And he has no touch whatsoever on short and intermediate passes. It's like it makes no sense that the hardest pass he's great at, the other ones he's not.
Why can't that that can't be corrected?
They've been trying to. You think they ain't been trying to do that?
I gotta ask McShay this. and dang it, I ain't even here.
You're here tomorrow.
So you got it.
I am.
No. All right. Well, here I got it.
What's the question?
The question is, this is on tape. I did this on Ultimate Browns. Todd McShay said, amongst multiple people on a panel, that Jalen Hurts was not taking the Philadelphia Eagles or any other NFL team to the Super Bowl. I want you to ask him what happened.
Okay.
Now, what was the difference between his evaluation then and how did he improve?
Okay.
We got more Super Chats we got to get to real quick. Reggie Bug Glover said 2 things. 1, if Sanders is your pick and you don't take him, you run the risk of losing him to someone else.
Yep.
Right.
Number 2, stop expecting these guys to come out of college ready to go. You have to coach them out of their weaknesses.
Thank you. Thank you for somebody wanting Kevin Stefanski to earn his money. Earn his. We want a unicorn to walk in and Stefanski just, look at this guy all pro.
Panel never said that.
No, we don't talk about that enough.
I think it's a good point.
Yes,
we don't talk about that enough. No, we don't.
I'm the only one that said that the one thing that I fear about Kevin is the way he work with young quarterbacks.
I think we have a reasonable conversation about it, but he's right. A lot of fans and media are too quick to
I agree with that.
Three more. DC says G. Bush getting triggered by Sanders getting pushed down draft boards, only to have Ross Tucker immediately come on and suggest he may drop to the second round.
Now, to be fair, Ross didn't hate,
But
Shedeur.
he understood where I was coming from.
And he understood, and he said that ultimately he thinks he has the best chance of the guys
All right,
to be a top 10. Go ahead.
So I didn't lose.
Eddie Everhart, our guy Eddie, says, it's embarrassing we're this close to the season and we still don't know what channel the Guardians will be on. What a ridiculous organization.
Everybody calm down. It's going to be fine.
And then last but not least, Ahmed Fadala says,
Nothing at all.
Ahmed says, the only reason the Browns got Journey is so they can play Don't Stop Believing, most disgusting feckless, shammy organization in major American sports. We've all stopped believing. Get the F out of here. Cat 100 emojis.
This dude poured water all over their birthday cake. Before that, we already know what you're doing.
Believe it. I mean, I love Journey,
wild.
but when was Journey hasn't been cool in about 30 years.
Do you know the lead singer from Journey is from the Philippines? He's wildly famous now.
I think I did know that.
Yeah, he's
Them last two.
We'll see
was
you on
great.
overtime, but don't stop believing.
What's up?